Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. It is Natasha Tomlinson here in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm a realtor with My Home Group Real Estate, and I have joining me Gaynor Collins, a loan officer with People's Mortgage. Say hey to the people, Gaynor.
Hey, people.
Fantastic. Well, on today's Lunch and Learn tour, we have a home in North Phoenix to take a look at. We will be doing in-person open houses this weekend, but for those who are out of town or maybe a little under the weather, as many are, we thought it was important to just do a walkthrough and answer any questions that anyone may have about this property or the Phoenix market in general, right? So, Gaynor, we're hearing a lot these days, right, about the Phoenix market. We've had a bit of a shift, and there's a lot of concern about whether or not we're in for a crash. People have a little PTSD, so let's put it right out there, right? People have a bit of PTSD talking about the real estate market and what exactly is happening with these changes and what can we anticipate. And I guess I wanted it just not to come from the horse's mouth, but also if you could talk a little bit on the financing side as to what you're seeing.
Well, on the financing side, we're seeing stable prices as far as like the appraisals. So we're not seeing a drop in market price for real estate right now. And what we are seeing is sellers being more agreeable to helping the buyer with their financing costs. So back when the market was a little crazy, the sellers weren't willing to do that. And also buyers were getting into bidding wars. I think this is a great time for buyers to buy right now. They have time to look at the houses, decide which house they like, and not getting into a bidding war where they're having to put in an offer within a few hours of a house hitting the market. We're not in that crazy market. So I think it's really good for buyers right now to finance some real estate. They can work with the seller. The seller's more willing to work. There's mortgage programs where you can ask the seller to help with the financing in the form of helping buy down the interest rate temporarily. So they can ask the seller for concessions to buy down the interest rate, say 2 years the first year, 1 year the second year, or you can do 1% the first year, 1% the second year. There's different options depending on what the seller is willing to help with, but there are mortgages that you can temporarily buy down the interest rate. So if the buyer is thinking, well, interest rates are a little high right now, I really don't want to buy, you can have the seller help you with that, where they can put some money into the transaction and your interest rate can be lowered. Like I said, if you do a 2-to-1 buy down, it's lowering the interest rate by 2% the first year and 1% the second year. So for the first 2 years of owning the house, you would be paying a lower mortgage with the seller helping you with that part of the financing. So I think it's a great time for buyers to jump in the market when we have sellers that are willing to help with the financing and buyers have the chance to find the house that they like.
Yeah, just when we're leaving a period, during the pandemic and the last few years where there was basically no negotiating that was taking place, very, very little. And you put your house in the market and the seller could expect to have multiple offers within the first 24 hours of it being put on the market. Showings were, multiple people going through. You had a 2:00 showing and you were one of 10 people lined up for that 2:00 showing. And so it was a very interesting time in our marketplace, but it definitely wasn't normal. There was nothing normal about that. But when you have something, those things happen for so long, people tend to feel like that is the normal real estate market. When what normal is having negotiations between buyers and sellers and having the contingencies that are in the contract actually being used and carried out. inspection, the appraisal, the loan contingency. I mean, there were many, many cases where sellers were looking for cash offers only, and where finance offers really had very little place or opportunity in our market. And now we've seen this shift where, as you stated, people have the opportunity to actually see what they're buying before writing an offer, and thinking about it, placing themselves there, asking for closing costs, making sure the home is moving ready, and you're not going to have these humongous upfront costs when you move into a home. There aren't all these hidden issues, which is one of the reasons why we had this home pre-inspected, so that people know right off the bat that it has been looked at by a third party, a professional third party that has looked at all the major components of the home and said that they are in good working order. So that brings some additional peace of mind to the buyer walking into the house. It's not just a lipstick job. Folks have lived here, and there was a lot of love in this home, and now these folks have moved on to another part of their lives, and the house is move-in ready for the next person, which is great. Opportunity.
Yeah, an opportunity to buy in an more equal environment instead of the seller dictating everything. It's now nice and equal, working together with the seller and the buyer.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's what folks have been screaming for. Why don't we have more houses on the market, right? Why can't I have an opportunity to think about this? This is moving too quickly for me. We heard all of those things over the past years, and now, well, you asked for it and you're getting it. You asked for more homes, you asked for more time, and you're getting those things. So, if you don't mind, I just wanted to take a quick walk through the property here. Make sure that people have an opportunity to see this beautiful home here in North Phoenix. What I do want to make sure is that we turn this camera around, because I'm sure everyone is done looking at me. Done looking at me. If I could figure that one out, that would be fantastic. But one way or the other, get it done. Okay, Gaynor, what are you seeing?
I am seeing the front of the house. Looks
All
beautiful.
Right. Fantastic. Fantastic. So as I stated, we are here in North Phoenix near 16th Street and the 101 on this beautiful sunny Arizona day. You know, this is where much of the country is, there's rain, there's snow, there's sleet, all that funky stuff. We are enjoying some phenomenal weather. So as you can see, this is a 2-story home. We do have the outside that has been painted, very homey. Front landscaping was also done. We have a tree for shade, newer windows, newer flooring. Very muted tones. And this is a 4-bedroom with a flex space, 2.5 bath, 2-car garage with RV gate, pool, spa, and of course, no homeowners association. So I'm standing here now in the living room. As you can see, there is a wood-burning fireplace. The property was built in the late 1980s, but there is no trace of 1980s when you look at this home, which is very different. When the seller purchased this home a few years back, there were popcorn ceilings, recessed lighting. There was a wall here, in fact. So the kitchen has been completely renovated, where they opened up the kitchen into the living space, added the island, all your cabinets, counters. We have gas, we have propane gas stove, which is not here beforehand, quartz countertops, undermount sink, stainless steel appliances, self-closing doors. It's really been tastefully done. As I mentioned, we did make a point of having this home pre-inspected. So the roof, air conditioner, water heater, all of the plumbing and electrical has been looked at by a licensed third party. And I am not afraid to stand in this house. Everything is in good working order. This is a flex space. A lot of folks work from home, either full-time or part-time. Some kids are actually homeschooling. This could act as that space as well. We have our downstairs laundry. So Gaynor.
Yes.
Someone does a 2-1 buy down.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say, I just wanted to close the door behind me here. They did a 2-1 buy down. Now, after the end of the 1 year, 2 year, that period has expired, they're refinancing at that point?
Probably, because most economists are kind of predicting that interest rates will come down in the next couple of years. They have been coming down a little bit already compared to, say, October of last year. The market has shifted a little bit, and the mortgage bond security market. And so interest rates have been coming down a little bit. So today, with really good credit, you're looking at probably around 6.375 or so with no points. So not buying the rate down. Where in September, October, it was up to 7. So we have come down. So that's great news. If you did a 2-1 buy down, your interest rate then would be 4.375. Say if you locked at 6.375, so it would come down to 4.375 that the buyer is paying interest on. The seller would pay the other interest for the buyer.
Sure.
And then the second year, it would come down 1%. So then you'd be at 5.375. But maybe that year or shortly after that year is when the buyer could refinance and get their rate permanently lower, because at that time they're predicting interest rates to be lower. So it'd be a good thing to kind of have them pay the lower interest during these first 2 years and then be in a position to refinance once the market goes back down, as economists are predicting.
Fantastic. And so that money sits in an escrow account?
It does, yes. So the seller puts the money in the escrow account to pay the additional interest that is owed on the mortgage, because it's just a temporary buy down. So the buyer would be locked in at whatever the interest rate is at the time that they go under contract and decide to lock in. And then the seller puts some money in an escrow account to pay part of that buy down cost. So the rate is temporarily bought down, where the buyer is paying the lower interest and the seller then is paying the additional interest for where the loan is locked in, if that makes sense. So the loan would be locked in, say, at 6.375. The buyer is charged interest at 4.375, but the note is still a 6.375 note. That's what they're locked into. So the seller then pays that additional interest, the 2%. They would pay that on behalf of the buyer as a
Sure.
buy down cost.
And it's not like they're depending on the seller to come up with that money every month. That
No.
money has already been earmarked for that.
Yeah. At the closing table, the cost of the buy down is charged to the seller, and then that money is put aside for the buyer. So the seller pays the money up front at the closing table because the cost of the buy down is charged to the seller.
Fantastic.
Well, as seller concessions. So it's not really, it's the cost is added to the transaction, and the seller is the one bringing in the seller concessions to pay that cost.
Certainly.
And with the more equal playing field right now, there are more sellers that are willing to do that versus like you were talking about the crazy market that we just went through where sellers weren't paying for anything and sellers weren't even allowing buyers to ask for inspection items, or they weren't, like you said, they wanted cash or they wanted the loan contingency removed.
Yeah.
So now we're in a more equal playing field where buyers and sellers can get together and do something that's mutually beneficial to both parties.
Exactly. And really, this isn't a new concept by any means. We've had contributions towards closing costs for decades. I mean, this is not a new idea. It's just resurfaced because of the change in market conditions.
Yeah.
I do love all the storage that's available in this home. There's just, you bring your toothbrush and your clothes, of course, and move in. I would love to cook on that stove. I have an electric stove, and let me tell you, it's not my fave.
Yeah, the sellers have done a great job at remodeling that kitchen.
Absolutely. If they had seen it before, the 1980s galley type kitchen, that's long gone. And of course, they get a pool, which is not standard by any means in Arizona. Premium lot and a pool. So if you prefer grass, turf, rock, more of a xeriscape landscaping, you do have sort of a blank canvas here. The backyard, it has been graded. So it's really up to the next person what they'd like to do. The pool decking was redone this year. Along with the water heater was replaced within the last 12 months as well. And you do have sheds on the property for additional outside storage. And of course, for those who have their RV, their trailer, their ATVs, there's room to store those as well. Roomy, huh? it could be an office. I mean, you could put an AC unit in here. The electric is present. There is venting. And if you wanted an outside office, it most certainly could happen. Man cave, she shed, whatever floats your boat.
And that's a nice, quiet neighborhood too, isn't it, Natasha?
It really is. It truly is. You have Buffalo Ridge right across the street here. For those who like to be outside and hiking and biking, there are trails available to take advantage of. And if you see me out there, be sure to say hi, because that does happen from time to time. Not lately, but I'll get back out there.
Especially while the weather's nice.
Yes, yes. And, if you prefer, shopping and the gym, spas, golf is more your thing, we're really a few minutes from the Desert Ridge Shopping District, an entertainment center there, where all the stores are. JW Marriott has their spa and golf course that a lot of people take advantage of. There are a lot of dining experiences at Desert Ridge and City North. They have music playing on the weekends for everyone to enjoy. There's a movie theater over there. I think there's a comedy club at City North, so you don't have to go all the way downtown or over to the East Valley or Tempe in order to play. Really, everything is pretty close. Let's see here. And as we know, we have a lot of events for those who are not familiar with this area that are preparing to happen in the Phoenix area. All the winter visitors are returning. And we have the Barrett-Jackson coming up, Russo and Steele, the auto auctions. Next month, of course, the Super Bowl will be here. And the People's Open, right? The Waste Management Open, one of the larger parties of the year. So we will have many visitors in town during that time. Then soon after, all the spring training games. Mm-hmm. Everyone's playing this year, right? No strikes, no.
Yep.
Oh, goodness. Let's not forget all the jobs that are coming to the Valley and the larger employers that are expanding. TSMC, Taiwanese Semiconductor, bringing thousands of jobs to the area. Many other suppliers for TSMC that are coming to the area. We have Honor Health, Banner Health, other engineering firms, Facebook, Google, aerospace companies, Lucid Motors, just to name a few. Nice quartz counters.
I like the flooring in there too.
Oh, yes. And even the handles, everything is really tastefully done. everyone can really get a feel for the space. Sometimes you see a home and there's just so much stuff and you can't really get a feel for whether you would fit into a space, but that is not the case here. All right. So Gaynor, are you ready for the weekend? You're going to manage a little R&R, or is it a working weekend for you?
I'm hoping a little bit of R&R, just so that I'm ready to go again next week.
Understood.
Yeah.
Well, folks, I'll be here this weekend, right? In town and holding an open house at this North Phoenix home from 11 to 3 p.m. So feel free to come on by with your questions about the Arizona real estate market, Phoenix in particular, Scottsdale, what have you. Any financing questions that you may have, I'm ready for you. All right, of course, questions regarding this beautiful home. I thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in person. Gaynor, thank you very much for tuning in today.
Yep. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right. Until next time.
All right. Have a good weekend.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.